What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassidy. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares to set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with. We're going to be talking about life before prison, life in prison, and life out of prison. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you come away with a nugget of something that will help you knock down some of the prisons you've built up in your own mind. Folks, today I have my guest here, Paul Gutierrez. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. So we were just talking before we got on. I see every once in a while you do, for anybody who's seen the movie Cocktail, you do all the fancy stuff with the bottles and stack and flip and...
Yeah, Tom learned a lot from me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's where Tom Cruise went to school, was with Paul, right? He taught him everything he knows.
Yeah, it's just something. And I picked it up in college and never really gave it up. So,
is that where you kind of learned how to do it? Did you do bartending in college?
Yeah,
just kind of.
I did a lot in college. I bartended a lot in college bars, that type of thing. So,
yeah.
So. I had a buddy that showed me how to kind of do a few of those things, and I made up some of my own. It's a lot of fun. It makes work fun.
Well, I'm sure it is, and I'm sure people love it because it's entertaining. It's something that I'm sure they'll tip you for if it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, and now I got me running the place. So I don't get to do it as much as I want it, as much as I'd like to.
And the place is the name of it Peerless in Wichita?
Yeah.
Peerless in Wichita, Kansas. Yeah.
I've got a little percentage invested, but I'm mostly sweat equity for that one.
All right. I get it. Speaking of sweat, I remember when we were at Leavenworth, you did a lot of, you did some basketball playing, softball. Maybe think you might have played a little volleyball. Yeah.
Played volleyball. Yeah. Tennis.
Yeah. Tennis. Yeah. We wore out that tennis court, and that tennis court was already worn out.
Oh my, geez, it was terrible. That big dip, it just dies.
I've never played on a tennis court like it in my life. And it moved. It was a sport court that was about 15, 20 years past its prime. And it moved.
Yeah.
You start and stop, and then you kept going. I
feel like there you can play anywhere though, you know what I mean?
It's true. And you always had, and then on the side there, if you remember, Paul, you had the, all kinds of different music with the weight pile that was going on. So
a metal to rap.
Yeah. Wasn't your normal country club scene, I don't think. It was the Leavenworth country club scene. Yeah. So, Paul, take me back here. You grew up in Wichita, right? Am I right about that?
No, I grew up in South Florida. I'm from West Palm Beach.
Oh, man, I got it wrong. I just figured... Because Wichita is kind of like in the middle of nowhere, so you think, because we used to go there with the girls to play tennis for the tennis tournaments, and it's just you drive, and then all of a sudden you end up, and I think Wichita is a cool town. It's kind of like a mini Dallas.
Yeah.
But you grew up in South Florida.
Yeah, I grew up in West Palm Beach. I moved to Kansas when I was about 18.
Okay.
Right? The last senior year. So, one of the things my mom and I have talked about a lot is, if she had it to do over again, she'd never move me out of my, I graduated with a bunch of people I didn't even know, it was kind of, It was tough. We actually Kirby, which is just south of Wichita. But I've been here long enough now. I'm a Wichita. So.
Yeah. You can say that you're kind of native there now. So growing up in that Florida world, what all did little Paul do?
I surfed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of surf. I got, and obviously with surfing comes being introduced to mild drugs of certain kinds, and so my, that started kind of early for me. But a lot of surfing. I went to school. I mean, I played basketball.
Yeah.
So.
A good athlete.
Pretty normal. Yeah, I got all around. I'm pretty good at a lot of sports and not very good at any of them. So,
That serves you well as you get older.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you said you got into kind of the mild drug scene, were the guys older than you, or was it just the guys that you were with?
Yeah, it was a lot of guys my age, but some were older than me. I hung out with a lot of guys who went to college before I went, obviously, and we partied a little bit. We did a little bit. We did some marijuana, we did some acid, stuff like that. And ecstasy was even big back then.
Sure.
Which really hit Kansas till way later, but I was always able to maintain my grades, and I was able to maintain that all the way through college. I mean, I've been using drugs pretty much most of my life up until that point, but I always kept a job. I kept at least a 3.7 GPA, so you kind of start to think that it doesn't affect you. You know what I mean? Because you're able to juggle all those things at one time. So
yeah, it's interesting because I mean you were basically functioning as you wanted to function in life. It wasn't like it was drawing you back or making you fall down. Yeah.
No.
So you get out of Florida. You moved to Wichita. Are you saying that you moved to Wichita your senior year, or were you out of high school?
I was in the middle of my senior. I had 3 months left to graduate.
Oh man, that would be tough as a kid.
Parents had to go. My dad got a job. They had to go now. And it was just, they didn't want me staying back with friends. I offered that. A couple friends offered me to stay with them for a little bit, but mom and dad wanted the family together, so they moved us all.
So that was your senior year. Then what did you do after high school?
High school, I went straight to WSU. I took a year off. Then I went to WSU. Signed a fraternity there. I graduated. It took me 5.5 years to graduate.
Well, that's what everybody did at Mizzou, so I don't think that's unusual, Paul.
But I finally graduated. I had a marketing degree with minor in finance, so I did pretty well in college. Had a few jobs, owned a tanning salon out in North Carolina. I did a few different things, but it was always never enough. You know what I mean? There was never enough. It was the car wasn't nice enough. So being in the being with friends I knew that did drugs growing up and stuff. I mean, I just kind of you learn things as you pick it up,
right? And
then you start to go and kind of leave it alone. And I never really had that. So I remember I was working at the hospital. I had my degree. I was working at the hospital as a manager of environmental services. And that $80,000 a year job, which isn't too bad for a 28, 29-year-old kid,
No.
But I'm selling cocaine the whole time I worked there, on the side. And, it's probably the dumbest decision I ever made. I mean, I left it on, I was projected to go up.
Yeah.
I mean, with that company, and I'm making $86,000 a year, and it's not enough money for me.
Yeah.
And so I was doing what I was doing on the side, and I thought I'd outsmart everybody, and that was not the case. So,
Was it a little bit of an adrenaline rush too? For you had this job that was a normal job, and then you had this other life that you were doing and making probably pretty good money. Talking to some of the guys that got into that world, I remember talking to Corbin, and he was talking about the fact that he like you had a good job, and it kind of led into the guy that could get it, and then it was kind of an adrenaline rush to be the guy. And then you also making money with it.
Yeah, you get to a point, and him and I have talked about this actually. You get to a point where you think you're doing it on the side, and you wake up one day and you quit your job because it's not lucrative for you to have an $86,000 a year job.
Yeah.
When you're making selling cocaine,
right?
And you wake up one day and out of the blue, you got a duffel bag full of money and a couple of kilos in the closet, and you're like, when did I become how did this happen? I'm not doing this on the side anymore. I'm a full-time drug dealer now. And it's scary. Honestly, it's scary. It was scary that day. I was like, what have I done? And then and if Corbin will agree, it gets to the point where it's too late to go back. You know what I mean?
You're in too deep.
You've gone too far.
Yeah. So when did you feel like it was coming at you? Was there an event that happened, or was there somebody that turned on you, or how did it all come about?
Yeah, I had a buddy that I was working with, a close business associate in that world, and he got in trouble.
Okay.
And he got out. They arrested him. He got out. He came back to me and said, "Hey, they asked me about you. They know about you. And they said it's too late for you."
Mm.
And I said, "What is that supposed to mean?" And they said they're coming for you. They have everything they need, and it's just a matter of time before they come and get you. And I said, "What if I quit?" Too late. So literally from that point on, I guess it would have been about 2 months down the road. I'm sitting in my house one day. It's about 5 a.m. I just kind of started nodding off, and my door literally explodes from the outside. And once I counted, there were 11 DEA narcotics officers with AR-15s and green laser lights and flash bombs, and anybody that says that they're not scared when that happens is full of crap.
I was going to ask you, Paul, what was going through your mind? Because I'm sure that was a couple of months before that you had a lot of things going through your mind, thinking that something like this could possibly happen. But when it happened, what were you thinking?
I was nervous those 2 months leading up. I was paranoid. It was the worst 2 months of my life. When that day happened, it was scary when it happened. And the minute they had the cuffs on me and I'm sitting down by the car. I had to be down by the car where they were searching my house. It was almost a feeling of relief, though.
Yeah. I don't think that's a weird comment, because I didn't have that where they broke into my house and busted down everything. I went through 6 years of knowing that we were fighting the U.S. government. But then when I finally, the family made the decision together that I was going to plea. And then when I finally did it that day, there was like a sense of, you're so tired of, the race and the adrenaline and the stress. And there is something that your body releases that you're like, okay, I'm done.
Even when you know the outcome is going to be bad, you know what I mean? It's at least that part's over with. And so, they took me away, and I had no idea how the system worked. I had a lawyer on retainer the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I told the girl I was seeing at the time, I said, call your mom, tell him to call Michael. And the officers are listening to this, and they go, "You're talking about Michael Magana?" And I said, "Yeah, my lawyer." And he said, "He does state cases. This is a federal indictment." And I go, "I don't know what the difference. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean?"
Mm-hmm.
We're not a lot of people are educated as to the difference between the state and the Fed and and how that works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea. And I'm living the life. I've been paying this lawyer every month, try to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
And he can't do anything for me.
So what are your parents thinking when all this happens? You're in the same town. They're there. Are they surprised? Did they have any indication that anything was going on? No.
Yeah. My mom knew. I would come home.
How old would you have been, Paul, when this all happened?
What's that?
How old would you have been when all this happened?
Let's see. You got out 40, 30. I would have been 31.
Okay, 31 years old. Yeah.
So I guess, I would come home to see mom and the family, and I'd fall asleep on the couch, and I'd forget, and I'd take my wallet and my stuff out, and I'd have a rubber band full of money like this big cash, and I wouldn't even think about why. I would just put it down, and she said, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, paycheck. I had some bills." And she knew.
Yeah.
She knew. She told me she knew.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to say to me. She was scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
She cried a lot.
Yeah. It's tough.
I come from a very, very good family. I come from a very close family, very tight family,
mm-hmm.
a loving family. A lot of the questions I could ask are why. And I sum it up to just simple greed. It was greed. It's the way I looked at money and the way I saw money.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it the right way.
Well, you saw it as a quick way to get ahead. Plus, you were probably good at it. That's if you were bad at it, you probably would have quit it early on. I
was very charismatic, and I never screwed anybody over. I was for lack of a better word, maybe it's an oxymoron. I was an honest drug dealer.
Yeah.
Never got shorted anything. It was never bad. It was always, and it was a handshake, and it was never a gun or anything like that.
yeah.
people trust me.
So Paul, what happened? Okay, so they break in, they bust into the place, they scare the hell out of you with all these people. They handcuff you, they take you. Did they release you after they've booked you? What happened?
Oh no, they thought I was a flight risk because my mom. We're from Florida. Mm-hmm. We're living obviously, but I still have family in Florida. They did research on me like I'd never seen. They knew stuff about me that I barely. So my cousins are in Florida. My dad's family's in Texas. My mom has family in New York. They said for that reason I was a flight risk. I don't know what it was. So they kept me there through the whole investigation for everything. So I never saw the light of day. So
that was it. They took you, and you from that point forward, you were in.
July 17th.
Wow. Yeah. And the county, for the 6 days I was in county, I could tell you that is the worst place to be because it's there's all kinds of bad things in people in that.
I did 8 months in county.
Damn, Paul.
Yeah. Mm. It was crowded. I mean, it just took forever to get through anything. So, I was there for a long time. So, actually, the average Fed stay there is 6 to 9 months.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
Yeah,
that particular.
How'd you get through that? I mean, did you just kind of just make your way? And
I've always been in. You can probably relate to this a little bit. I've had a lot of sales jobs. I'm able to kind of
adapt
environment, so to speak. So if I had to act a certain way to make sure I was okay in this situation, I did. If I had to, if I obviously with jobs and stuff like that, I've got to act a different way than I do,
Right.
So kind of just finesse my way around a little bit, So
when they finally come to you and say your attorney says, "Here's your deal," what was your deal?
My deal was you don't get no deal. You're getting 10 years in federal prison.
That was it.
For the amount of that. So they didn't ask me they didn't ask me to cooperate. They didn't ask me to do any of it. So I mean, it was weird. They hauled me right off and he said, "Look, this is what they're asking." I said, "Look, I have $128,000 that my mother-in-law, my girlfriend I was seeing, her mom's. Mm-hmm. What if I give you that? Because you don't understand. These people print the money. They don't care about your money.
Right. They have the money. Yeah.
You're going to prison is what they say. So, and then, you do what is it? 82% of your, 78% of your time or 80% of your time?
Yeah. Yeah. On federal.
So you're probably going to get 10 years. A decade just sounds a lot.
That's a lot to swallow. I got a 5-year sentence, and it took my breath away. I can't imagine adding another 5 years to that when you have to look at what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I have on my first offense. I've never been in trouble. I have 2 speeding tickets and this federal felony on my record. I've never been in trouble in my life. Not a DUI, not anything. And I thought that might count for something, but apparently not.
No, they just said, "We got you dead to center. Here you go. Here's your 10-year minimum." Where'd they send you?
Send me straight to Leavenworth.
Oh, you went straight to Leavenworth?
To Leavenworth, yeah.
I did not know that, Paul. So you went straight to Leavenworth. So tell me about that. Because did you have to go through the Oklahoma transfer, or did you?
Yeah. I was in Oklahoma for about a week.
Okay.
Transfer center wasn't bad. That was pretty easy, actually. Much better than county. So I did the 8 months in county. I did a week in the Oklahoma transfer center, and then they shot me off to Leavenworth right from there.
So did you ever spend any time in the USP medium, or did you go straight to the?
Yeah, I was up top for a little bit, but I went straight. I mean, I went mostly. I spent 90% of my time in camp. So I mean, it was all easy time. It really wasn't. As they say, it was easy time. It's harder for the people outside. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Compared to what it is up top, it was it's a lot easier,
Well,
obviously.
explain that to the people that don't know. What was the difference for you, Paul, going into a medium and then experiencing the camp? What were the feeling differences is how you felt when you went into each one of those?
There's prison politics involved that are different than, at the camp, the majority of people are on their way out.
Mm-hmm.
At the medium, at those levels, at the medium, the USP levels, you got people that are in there, they're going to do 20 and 25 and 30 years in there.
Right.
So rules have to be made. There's certain places that you're able to watch TV. There's certain places you're not. And you listen to the people that are in there making the calls. And if you don't, then, you get reprimanded for that.
Yeah.
And it's not swift belt to the butt either. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But it's really, people tell horror stories about it. And, back in the 80s and 90s, it was one thing.
Yeah.
Now, as long as you're not a crash dummy, as they say, as long as you're not in there just causing problems, bothering people, not having common courtesy, stepping on somebody's shoe and saying, I'm sorry. I mean, stuff that we're brought up with.
Right.
That don't have those things are the ones that struggle in there. And yeah, there is violence in there because of that.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody that just keeps your head down, keeps your nose clean, follows the rules, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. So you get brought into Leavenworth, and so how much time did you spend in the medium there?
I wasn't there for a few months. I mean, it wasn't even
a few months, and then they took you right down to the camp.
Right down to the camp. My points changed. My birthday hit, and my points changed.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah, I was camp eligible almost when I got there. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paul, because my dad got a 10-year sentence, and he was at Marion the whole time. So I'm sure that you're right. Your birthday probably
your point
adjusted your points.
You're classified where you go, or what custody level you go to by your points.
Right.
And that's accumulated how serious your charge is, and other factors. The big one is your age. When your age hits, that's a big chunk of your points right there.
So how did you decide to tackle prison? You've went 8 months into county. You go now. You're at Leavenworth, which is a little ways away from where your world was.
I didn't. I didn't know what to expect walking in. Obviously, I have no idea. You hear, they only show on those shows. They don't show you the bad things that happen. They show you the one thing that happens maybe once every few months or something. They think that makes it look like it's every day.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect. But when I got there, I was actually greeted by some pretty good guys, some nice guys that kind of showed me around the place and, let me know how things worked, for everything from what days commissary is open to which bathroom you go number one and which one you go number two.
Yeah.
And I mean, so it was almost calming as I got there because I started to see guys that are in the same position I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're all in this.
Right.
We all got good time to do. We got to live here for a while. This is our home. And, so I got there and I said, I'm going to meet some guys and I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm going to do, all the things in here that I should have been doing out there, which is, getting my body together, working out, taking a break from what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to read a lot, surround myself with positive people,
Yeah.
And, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't know is these tattooed, bearded guys that you see in prison, some of them are very, very highly intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them are pleasant people to be around, and they're family men. And people just don't, I don't think the average person really understands the depths of that. You know what I mean?
I definitely think you're right on with that because, I met some really good guys. And I think you talking about how people helped you out when you got there, I think that's maybe one of the biggest surprises that I had that very first day I was there. There were guys that really wanted to help get you set up. There were guys that really wanted to tell you what the inmate rules were so you didn't mess up. And I didn't know if I really expected that. I guess I'm like you, Paul. I didn't really know what to expect, but that actually kind of surprised me that within the first few hours, I felt like, hey, there's some people here that are actually really helping me out. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're good guys. And some of them are white collar guys. Some of them are drug dealers.
Yeah.
I think that, like I said, to beat the dead horse, I just think that a lot of people just don't really understand that some of some of the smartest people I've ever met are in federal prison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being intelligent, slash educated, smart, if you will, doesn't have everything to do with decision making. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
right.
you know.
So, Paul, I meant to ask you this one before. Did you have a relationship? I think you mentioned you had a girlfriend. Was that going on as you went into prison?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we lost touch. She got in trouble too. You know, she worked with me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, you know, that faded out a little bit. So she's going back home to Texas. I'm going back to Kansas.
Yeah. What were your touchstones then for the outside world? What were your touchstones in the outside world when you were in?
Mom and dad.
Mom and dad.
My sister. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, my dad passed away while I was in there.
Oh man. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He passed away. He passed away 7 months before I got out.
Wow.
So, yeah, but up until then, I mean, he was my biggest fan. I mean, my dad and I had a very, very strong relationship even through all this, you know.
So you had your parents. What kind of job did you have when you were at Leavenworth?
I had a couple of jobs. I worked at Unicor for the most part. Unicor is a prison industry company. They employ inmates to do certain things that help. You know, ours was electronics recycling.
Right.
I worked for.
And the way I understood that, Paul, is those all those electronics and things came out of federal government buildings, and then you guys would disassemble them and do whatever and
tear them down.
Yeah.
Get stuff. Plastics could be used to recycle, and
yeah,
you know, a lot of the spots. So I mean, there's money to be made. There were guys making money in there that, you know, or that people that you know, were working with Unicor.
Yeah.
You know, we as inmates thought we were making great money. It was the best job paying on the compound. It wasn't much, but
yeah, no, it was. Unicor, even though it was kind of run like a factory, they paid the inmates quite a bit of money. I mean, quite a bit of money. They paid them a little bit more than they paid everybody else. Because
I told my sister I was excited when I got my job. She came to visit, and she goes, I said, yeah, you know, in a couple of months I can be making $180 a month. I don't have anything to pay for in here, so
yeah,
you know,
yeah. No, I worked at the food warehouse, and I enjoyed that job because there was a lot of stuff that I got to know how to do. That I got forklift certified. You know, that was something for me to focus on. You know, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn how to drive these pallet jacks and figure this thing out because I've never done this before.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's the you know, you were asking what attitude and mindset you go in. I mean, if you've got that mindset that you're going to learn something that, you know, you've never done before, and you're going to, you know, go at it, and you know what I mean? It's whatever you can do to take your mind off the fact that you got 6-7 more years of this. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and Paul, I think because you did more time than I did, I know one thing that I always thought was I can't look too far ahead because it feels claustrophobic. It doesn't feel good. It makes you feel like you're getting in a deep hole. I always just tried to look at it as I'm biting off a little piece at a time. And then when you get a year down, you're like, okay.
Yep. That's, we always say, I had a buddy that I bunked with, Jeff, and he used to say, they'd set the lights out and he'd be on the bottom bunk, I'd be top bunk, and he'd go, well, one more down that they can't take back from us right there. That one's done.
That's right though. One of the best times of the day is going back to your bunk to go to the 10 o'clock count and go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody counts it a different way. I used to count it by weeks. You know, every weekend was that much closer, you know, and then you'd count holidays, you know, a couple more Thanksgivings and I'm done, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Or seasons, you know, this is another spring, or this is another summer. This is another, you know, winter, Christmas. Yep. Yeah. It's weird how you count in prison.
I know, it's crazy.
You chop it up, and so. When did you start feeling like, you know, I'm biting off that time that you were making progress with it? Was it how many years? Yeah.
Oh, geez. About when I got under 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 19, 20 months.
Yeah.
I started saying, man, I go, this is becoming real. I'm getting out. So. And I tell my sister that when she comes to visit, and she's like, "Oh, that's almost 2 years." I'm like, second of all, after I've done six or whatever it is, so about 20 months. When I got to 18 months, I was like, "Oh man, I'm out the door." That means I've only got one more Christmas to go after this.
One more time around.
Yeah. That's when it's. I think.
What do you think, Paul? Because I know there's hard days in prison. What do you think your best strategies were to handle hard days when they happen in prison?
I usually found a group of guys to talk to.
Okay.
I'm pretty. Prison's a lot of times you hold, like a lot of the guys in there. They hold a lot of things in. They deal with it themselves.
Yeah.
My father has always taught me to bring up this. If you got a problem, son, you sit down and talk.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk to mom. You can't talk to either one of us. You talk to somebody. And I was brought up that way. So, I'd grab somebody I was close to and I'd spill it. But then again, man, there were hard days where things would happen in the world that you have no control over. And sometimes you just got to cry. I mean, there's nights where, I'd lay in that bunk, not everybody knowing, obviously, with the blanket up, and I'd cry.
Yeah.
The night my dad passed away. I mean, that was it's probably the toughest day I ever had.
I can't imagine because sometimes they offer furloughs in that situation. Was that even given up as an option?
They offered me a furlough after he passed away.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see him when he was. I mean, we knew I tried to get my furlough in. I tried. And actually, the counselor that I worked with really tried to get it for me. It just came too late. It got too late. It was late. My dad knew. My mom knew he was going very, very soon.
Yeah.
So, said, I tried to get on and get a furlough, and it just he deteriorated quicker than I could get the furlough. So I got the furlough anyway, and I went, to be with family and stuff.
How was that? Because I mean, you hadn't been out in a long time, and you were also pretty close to getting out.
I freaked out.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah. I got out, and my mom's sister, we stopped at Starbucks, and it was busy.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen people out of prison in this would be about 8 years, I guess.
Yeah.
And maybe 7.5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing was, I get out and I'm standing by the Starbucks counter waiting for my coffee. And it just happened to be the same counter where they keep all where the creamers and stuff are. And this young businesswoman, very attractive young lady, comes over and she grabs me. She goes, "Hey, honey, you mind if I squeeze by you?" And she's telling me, I just started her more than me because I go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get." "No, I'm okay. Just I'll grab me." And I just went in the corner and stood there, man. We are not to have any kind of physical touch with any female officer of any kind.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So
it'll freak you out.
I basically hadn't touched a woman in 7 years. And this woman's over rubbing me, trying to get off. I'm like, it was just perfume smell, but it was like, this is just weird, man.
Did you have did they give you the weekend, or how long did you have?
Yeah, they gave me Friday, Saturday, back Sunday night.
What was that like coming back in?
Dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had about 6 months to go at that time.
Yeah.
You think, hold on, my dad died October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, I got out about 8 months later. So I didn't have much time left to do, but walking back in.
Well, I always thought I didn't get a furlough, but they did give a couple of different furloughs at some point. I know Jim Clark got one, and somebody else that I knew, and I always was kind of mixed on that because I thought it'd be so great to get away, but it'd be so weird to come back in. But the fact that you only had 6 months or so left would be a lot better.
Yes, that made it a lot better. And this is going to sound pretty bad, but there was a level of comfort when I was in there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so going back in after I left for my furlough, it is what I'm comfortable here. You know what I mean? It wasn't like walking back in new, but obviously you don't want to leave the outside world, but I know what I'm walking back into. I know I got 7 months to go.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this, you know?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think I had a weird experience where I had to go to a civil trial, and it was like midway through my time. And so I went to that county jail, and when I came back to Leavenworth, it felt so much better, which sounds so weird, but it was you get so into your routines and what you know, and obviously that's how people get institutionalized too, which you have to be careful about not getting institutionalized, because then you get afraid to be free, and you don't want that. But no, I totally get what you're saying, Paul. You do get, first of all, now it's not an unknown. The fact that you can go back into prison, you know what you're going back into. When you first go in, like you said, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you learn how to navigate through. And you did mention institutionalism. I see, and the way you kind of put it is, you know, you don't want to get in. I think it doesn't matter if you do an extended period of time, and it could be different for anybody. I mean, part of you can't help but to get that way a little bit.
Yep.
It's different for everyone, but I know. I mean, I'm not the same person I am now that I was when I went in.
Right.
And I don't mean that as because of what happened to me. I mean, just living in there like that. I mean, there's things, I see things different now. I think about things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Neither good, but because I was in that institution, you know, where I eat, you know, there's things I do different. My mom will point it out, or somebody will point it out and say, that's kind of weird that you do things that way. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
no, well, I mean, obviously when you're in a situation like that for the period of time that you were in that, then you do perceive things differently. You look at things differently, and there's not like, it's not like it's going to change your whole persona, but your mind has experienced different things now. So how can that not be something that becomes part of you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So tell me, Paul, when you finally get to the door, what are you thinking? Because it's been a while. You're going to get back out into the world. Is your mind spinning, or are you just calm and you're ready to roll? What's going on?
No, I was nervous as hell. I mean, think about it. Yeah, I kind of think about it this way. It was, you were just as nervous going in.
Yeah.
Because you lived life this way for so long, and now you're going in and you're nervous.
Yep.
Well, now you live so long this way, you're going back out, you're nervous again.
Yep.
You don't know what to expect. The world's completely changed. You know, I wasn't in there a long time, but I mean, Snapchat wasn't around then.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell Snapchat. I don't use any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I mean, that's just one little example, but, you know, you wonder what kind of job you're going to get, what availability there is for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a college degree, and you know, I'll be honest, I ran into some setbacks out here that I thought I was going to do some things different when I got out, you know, and, you know, some things have worked out okay for me and some things haven't, you know, carrying around that stigma. So I guess that's what I was nervous about.
Yeah. And your honesty on that is so right on to the setbacks. And the thing about, I think, Paul, about the setbacks is you can't, you get hit in the gut, because I think there's a mind, you have this mindset when you get out that I've accomplished that. That's behind me, but it's really a lifetime thing. You'll get hit. I got hit the other day with something and said, "Hey, did you know he's an ex-felon?" Or you know, totally out of nowhere. And I'm not hiding it, obviously, but you know, when it hits you in the job world or whatever, and they're trying to pull something away from you just because you can't do anything about it. It's just because. Yeah,
there's an old saying. They say that every sentence in federal prison is a life sentence, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Once you're tagged, yeah.
So, you know, I tried to get some loans for school. I couldn't get loans for school. There were no grants, you know what I mean? That type of thing. I did hear about some grants for felons. But I think because I had a gun charge as well, didn't give me an extra time, but they ran a concurrent, you know, that kept me from being able to do certain things. You know, there's just a lot of doors been slammed, but that's not for me type thing either. That just means I find a different door to open. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, you know, it's just frustrating, that's all.
Yeah. And I think that's a little nugget of something that you have when you go through that. And I can tell by you talking about it, Paul, whatever that was, you kind of just adapted to it, stayed determined, and found, okay, that didn't work. Something else has to work. And,
right.
And that's the difference of somebody saying, oh, that didn't work. It's never going to work. So,
right. No, exactly. People always say, if that didn't work, if you keep trying, keep trying. Well, yeah, but you don't just keep trying. You got to adjust something.
Right.
But there's certain things that I will never be able to do as a job or I can't work. I can't. From what I understand.
What'd you say? You can't what? I missed that. What'd you say?
That I used to work in when I managed healthcare. I was a support service manager for healthcare in a healthcare system for a long time.
Okay.
I'm not step foot into a hospital as far as a job goes. I can't do that for being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Or drug trafficker, whatever they call it. So that my job that I did very well at, I can't go back to.
Right.
I've always been able to throw bottles up in the air and bartend.
Yeah.
So I can always fall back on.
Yeah.
I can pay my bills and I can do that while I try to adjust to what I'm going to do.
I'm curious, what do you think the biggest change was being in for that amount of time, coming out? What do you think was when you looked at the world and it was spinning around you? What did you see or feel that was like different?
I don't, like I said, only 8 years. I would probably say it seemed like everybody's doing things a lot faster now.
Uh-huh.
And getting old. I don't know, but I mean, I feel like, kids are going, my daughter grew up so fast. The things, I think also the things that are acceptable by society, by mainstream society, even weren't that acceptable even 8 years ago before I got to prison.
Yeah.
Some of the things, on the internet and the things you're able to do and sell and do things on the internet that you can, I mean, that wasn't a thing when I went.
Yeah. Different world. The whole social media thing is totally changed, especially in the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah. It's insane. And, I think that was one of the biggest changes, just how fast everything moved. I hear people saying that. I sound like I'm 75 years old or something. You know what I mean?
No, I felt that. And I was, I was basically 3 years away on a 5-year sentence. And first of all, to me, it felt like I was jumping in a moving car. I was trying to catch up with everybody because time stands when you're in, and then you're trying to catch up with everybody.
Yeah.
That went on.
Exactly. No, it's true.
Yeah.
You could do a little bit of a better job preparing you for that type of thing. I mean, keeping what's there and maybe bringing a little bit into prison so that, put it this way, having 8 years, I felt that way. Just imagine if you were in there for 25 years, 28 years.
No.
I mean,
I can't. I can't imagine the adjustment in a 20 or 30 year period, being thrown back into society. It would be a mind buzz.
Yeah.
Total mind buzz. Well, tell me about now. Tell me what now, Paul. What's going on now in your world?
Well, I'm running a bar right now. I've got the small piece of ownership of it a little bit, so
cool.
That's not bad.
Very cool.
It's mostly sweat equity. I don't have the pockets, so But I'm running the place. I got a few bartenders that work for me. It's not a big place. My goal is to have 100% of one of my own here pretty soon. I'm working with some investors and so hopefully I can get something off the ground. I'm not in a big rush, which is unlike me.
Yeah.
Prison taught me how to slow down a little bit.
And patience.
Yeah. I didn't have any patience before, man. So, I'm not living as lavishly as I was when I was out there. I mean, I had a house, an apartment, and a few cars, and nice things. And I have one bedroom apartment right now, and one car play. And you know what? I'm happier now. So
it's crazy, isn't it? You find out what's really down to your soul, what's important, and that's something you talk about. What teaches you? That's something that you learn. You learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about not having the money, what I learned was I changed my ideas about money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What it means to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't mean to me what it meant to me before.
Right.
You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure does. And what about your kids?
Kids are money means a lot to them right now. I'll tell you that.
What's their ages?
My daughter, she's 18 and 13, so she'll be 18. She's not quite 18 yet, but close enough. They, every time I turn around, she needs her nails done, or she needs, something done. And, my son's, he always wants to go do things. He wants to go to Dave & Buster's all the time, so I take him there.
Yeah.
Got a phone like 2 weeks ago, so he thinks he's cool now. So,
well, sure.
Christmas presents are more expensive every year,
Yeah. Wife, girlfriend, Paul?
What's that?
Wife, girlfriend, what do you got going?
I have a girlfriend. She's beautiful, tall, blonde.
Yeah.
A lot younger.
Yeah.
No bad thing.
Make you feel young, right?
Yeah, she sings around town and plays guitar and stuff. She's very, very talented. So
cool.
She's talented, smart. I don't know what she's doing with me. So, remember, I mentioned being smart has nothing to do with bad decision making. You know what I mean?
That's right. Exactly. She likes the bad boy image. Exactly. That's what she likes.
And that might be what it is.
So that's cool. So you've got. I think the biggest thing, the takeaway from everything you're talking about, Paul, is that every time you had a situation, you had to adapt and stay determined to get to the next step. And I think that's good for anybody, right? You just don't give up.
Any situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you think about it, when you go to a new job, you don't really know, let's say you go to a new job, new company, you're not really sure what the social norms are there, either. You've got to adapt.
It's the exact same thing. Exact same thing.
So you're going to learn. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And kind of like when you walked into your high school, 3 months to go, you had to figure it out. You didn't know anybody. Just like you didn't know anybody when you walked into Leavenworth.
Same thing.
Same thing. What haven't I asked you, Paul?
What's that?
What haven't I asked you? Did I miss something?
Not at all, man. I mean, I don't know.
What would you impart to this audience of your takeaway from all this?
I would say that this type of thing that happens to us, it happened to me, it's happened to you. I mean, it can happen to anyone, I mean, no one's immune from making a bad decision. No one's immune from making one bad decision, which leads to another one, which becomes easier to do. And pretty soon you end up in a situation that you had no business being in.
Yep.
I also think that you can't look at yourself as a victim ever. You're not a victim of the system, right? As much as we're allowed to say that. Are we a victim possibly in the way that we're treated sometimes? Yes. But we put ourselves there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I firmly believe that I knew selling drugs was wrong. I knew it was wrong. Mm-hmm. I guess for it, that's a whole different story. The point is, I don't think you can look at yourself as a victim no matter what happens to you. I think that's one thing that needs to be.
Paul, I love that, because I think that whenever you feel like a victim, it drains all the strength from you. You're blaming people. There's excuses. And when you flip the script and you take the survivor role, I think that gives you strength. It gives you the ability to step into the unknowns. And I think surviving actually gives you strength. Victimhood, man, it just zaps you. And you just slide down a bad hole.
There's nowhere to go as a victim.
Right.
No one's going to help you. Mm-hmm. I mean, you already know that. You got to do things on your own. Mm-hmm. At least, carrying a positive attitude about it and knowing that you did it yourself gives you the motivation to change it, I think.
I love it. That's good. Yeah. That's good stuff there, Paul. I like it.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, Paul, thanks for being a guest on here today. I always thought you were a cool guy hanging out at Leavenworth, doing your thing, never causing any issues, just being Paul. And that's appreciated when you're in prison.
You're a great tennis teacher too.
I was a lot better in Leavenworth than when I get out. a lot better tennis players out here.
Yeah.
That was fun, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, everybody. If you haven't found a book out there that you're looking for, I've got one. I wrote one. It's called Nightmare Success. Anybody, I love the likes and subscribing. Leave a review on Apple if you get a chance. I love those. Everybody, Nightmare Success. Thank you, Paul.
You got it, man. Good to see you, buddy. Take care.
Thank you.